Hi, I'm Darryl Frakes from Apatche Revealed. I thought I'd run through a little tutorial today on motion blur. Now, this is just a unique filter for you to be able to create something from a simple image into something unique. Now, it doesn't take much experience, and it certainly does define a photograph of yourself. Now, I've opened up this photo that I took in Japan 2016 of a bamboo forest. So first off, what you want to do is you want to duplicate your layer. You have two options. You can press Ctrl J to create the new layer, or you can drop and drag it down onto your new layer palette and it will create another copy. So depending on which way you like to do, Ctrl J or drag it down, which will save your background for references, materials, or you don't want to destroy it. Now, to create a motion blur, you go to Filter, click on the Blur section and go Motion Blur. Now, because my trees are straight up and down, the angle preview is 90 degrees, which is horizontal. You can change this at any direction that you want. For future reference, if you want this to look like rain or something, you change it to 50, create a new layer with a couple of white dots on it, and it'll look like rain if you change the opacity or fill down just a bit on some of your images. You just do a couple of white dots on your new layer, motion blur it, and it will look like rain. But because we're working with a bamboo forest, my image angle will be 90 degrees straight up and down. Now you can change the distance on the actual blur itself. You can go down to 10 or 8 and it'll just have a little bit of a blur. It looks like everything is now out of focus on your camera. Or you can go to the other extreme to 2000 and make everything look completely out blurred, straight lines. Great for a background of some sort of stuff, but I just want to keep a little bit of detail in there, so I'm going down to 700 or 800 depending on how close you want to be exact, and I just press enter or click OK. Now that is my motion blur image. Now I did take a duplicate of this image, so as you can see in my background I've got it all crystal clear, it's all nice, but I've got these couple of leaves down here that are out of focus. I think I used an f5.6 on my camera to get these, or maybe even smaller, to get these all blurry out. But now, because what I imaged in my head, I went and actually took another photo of the foreground, which is the bamboo leaves right here. Now I did take some time and I did cut them out, and I've created an effect on my Adobe library, because once I create an image and it's a vector image, I will save them in my vector image file in my libraries, so I can always go back to them, and if I have something unique like this, I can just drop it in there and I don't have to retrace and continue retracing. Because I spent some time prior to creating this video, I did cut out the leaves as a vector image, and I just saved it in my library, and then they are there. So I just placed them directly back to where they were. Now I've got the foreground and the background, well, semi-focused, because obviously the background was focused before we did the motion blur. The foreground is now dropped in here, and I created that. You can do this with any of your images in the library. I highly recommend this library. Saves you looking for all your vector images in your sample folders or your image folders, just in case you wanted to find a bee or something like that. You've got a little bumblebee you can drop in here. You can resize down the bottom, and there you go. You've got got a bee in there. Or if you want planet Earth, for instance, there you go. These are just little vector images that I saved, that I can drop in, background still saved and everything. But if you have watched my pathways video a while ago, I made up this candle or a light stool. So that's what I wanted. It's just a little candle with a Lightroom thing there. So I've just created an image out of that, and I placed it in. That's what I thought about when I took this photo, pretense on something a little bit different. Now, because I've got a little bit of a glow here, I might want a bigger glow. I can show you how to create a glow behind that if you don't have an effect similar to what I've already created in my photo library. So you just create a new layer, and you can tour this glow. Now up in on your toolpad, next to the paint bucket, you will have the gradient tool. You can select on the gradient tool, click the oval shape on your gradient tool. Now bring this down and you click the one color foreground to transparent. You can click that. Click any color that you may wish to desire on your background for your glow of any sort of stuff, and just drag out like that, and that will give you a nice little glow. I dropped that obviously behind. You can put an overlay behind it as well, just to make sure it looks like a little bit more of a glow. It brings out that. Now, because this is a little bit dull, it doesn't have much of an effect of it, because you just obviously took this straight off the camera. Usually I will jump into Lightroom and change it around, but this is a Photoshop tutorial. So I can click on the top, bring down the FX button down here to add a style. I would like to, actually not FX, I'm sorry, I do apologize. The halftone creates a new layer of adjustments. I'm going to bring up my levels. I think levels will be the first one. I'm just going to darken that a little bit like that. Going to bring up the highlights a little bit like that. Maybe drop down the middle tone. Something like that. That's okay. Because you got another way you can bring up the middle phone. I want to. What do I want to do? I might bring up the color balance just to see if I can change these color of the bamboo a little bit. There we go. See, it's just a little bit of a tinker. Personal preference, obviously, bringing up that sort of style. I always like a vignette behind my images. Obviously Photoshop does not have vignette, but if you create a new layer again, type in overlay, because you are going to go into the layer filters and click overlay again. Get your brush tool, and obviously the color is going to be black. Get your brush tool out here, right click on it to make sure you've got a fuzzy brush. Bring it around here, make it a little bit of a big size, and don't worry about how dark it is right now, because we are definitely doing a bit of an overlay. Oops. So I'm just creating a bit of an overlay on my image. This is why I do most of my creations or finishing them off in Lightroom, because we can create a sort of an effect in Lightroom without changing too much. Now that is my Photoshop tutorial. If you have any questions or anything about anything I've done, please leave them in the comments, and I'll be happy to get back to you. Until then, happy photoshopping.